boy, well, it happened. We got incredibly game-changing things right before Guild War. Yep. Anyways, welcome to DUI's September 2023 Flash Gala banner impressions and analysis. This banner brings us a brand new grand character, Kaguya and Paris, who was featured in the current rerun, which I definitely didn't skip reading. But anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. As per usual, the new units are Rate Up and Sparkable, and alongside them, we have Grand Grimnir and Grand Ewiyar on Rate Up as well. First up, Grand Grim as a unit is not really utilized these days. I'm sorry, Grimnir. It's okay, his Valentine's version is strong. In a vacuum, Grand Grim has decent skills. He provides some utility to the party and self-steroids that make himself hit harder. But at this point, he's a little outdated, and due to how his skills work, he takes a little too long to come online. Vortex of the Void is an okay weapon for Zephyrus grids. It's mostly for full auto or hard content, and pretty much you will only ever need one fully uncapped copy. Next up, Grand Ewiyar. This unit is strong. Pretty much useful everywhere outside of Burst, especially for full auto and HL content. She also synergizes extremely well with Katzelia, who essentially gives you a free weapon with her in the front line, giving you an effect that's sort of similar to like Kaim in Earth. She's extremely likely to show up in many full auto setups during Guild War. Her weapon, Piercing Galewind, is one of the core pieces for Zephyrus grids. Despite its really poor reception when it was first released, this weapon has grown in value over time, and especially with the release of Kaguya's weapon, which I'll talk about more later in the video, it's just gotten even better. You will never need more than 2 copies of Galewings, and it can even be used in Magna grids at 0 star for mostly easier content where you don't need as much HP. So rate ups aside, should you spark this banner? This banner, I imagine, is extremely tempting to a lot of people. It's an entirely new weapon archetype and a new character right before its respective Guild War. It sort of feels like when Galewing first released back in 2021 right before Dirt Guild War. My personal thoughts and recommendations for this banner is that it's an extremely good time to spark if you're looking to build a Zephyrus grid. Many key pieces are rate up, and this will be one of the best banners for people who want to be heavily invested into wind grids. If you don't care about winds though, and you're not looking to transition into Primal, I would strongly suggest skipping this banner. Kaguya, as powerful as her weapon is at the end of the day, a grand. She's available every month. September is an awkward spot to spark as it's directly after summer banners and right before Halloween and Christmas. Since seasonal characters are much harder to acquire, I would recommend most people actually skip this banner in favor for one of the upcoming banners. But if you're like me and really like wind, then this banner is really hard to miss. I've already uploaded my spark. If you want to check how that went, videos in the description and in the top right if I can figure out how to do that sort of thing. Our future DUI here, with the Granblue Versus and Relink stream, they just gifted out a limited 10 pool to everybody. So you can get a nice small discount on this banner, or at the end of the month on Legends Gala if you want. So yeah, there's a small discount here. So a little incentive if you wanted to spark. Okay, so with that, let's talk about the new units and the new weapons. Today we'll be starting off with Paris. Paris is a solid permanent character, most likely to be used in full auto and maybe some hard content. His kit functions somewhat similarly to Anderson's. He has a way to tank attacks for the team, and also has a way to instantly attack. He provides some additional utility with his second skill, which can dispel up to 2 times. His main mechanic is his unique stack, which rises every time he is targeted by a foe. This provides him with a pretty strong buff and also unique echoes, which currently stack with all other sources in the game. Overall, he's a decent unit who will definitely provide some help to newer accounts, but unlikely to be really meta in any setups. Alright, so before we talk about Kaguya's weapon, let's talk about the character herself. Kaguya brings some new things to the table for wind. Currently, it's unlikely that she replaces anybody in the wind burst setups, but she has strong potential for full auto and HL content. Her skill 3 provides a local permanent debuff that most notably supplements the damage taken by the enemy. Do note that this effect doesn't stack with other things that provide similar effects, like Halamal Call or Bub's Ball debuff. Her skill 2 is a skill that becomes much more powerful on the second cast, providing the team with a whole heap of defensive utility. Although the cooldown is quite long at 12 turns, it will be reduced each time she charge attacks, which will further be accelerated through her second passive. By far, her most noteworthy skill is skill 1, which provides a ton of offensive buffs to an ally of your choice. Out of these buffs, the flurry effect is the most interesting. This will cause the target ally's auto attacks to split into 2, just like how Viking or Makura work. Also, just to note, if the target ally dies with this buff, the auto revive will trigger. That ally will come back to life at 100% HP, and they will still keep the rest of their buffs. It doesn't disappear when they die, which is a unique thing with this skill. I'm pretty certain that we'll see some Kaguya setups in next week's Winds Guild War, most likely for NM150 or NM200 full autos. Outside of Guild War, she can be used for raids like Subby, where her S2 can fully negate the effects of his debuff Omen. The auto revive effect also makes sacking Naru to the 75% trigger a bit more comfy as well. In my test so far, she hasn't been able to outperform my regular lineup of Ewiyar, Neo, and Naru, but it's still quite early to make a full judgment. She also might see some use in the upcoming Super Ultimate raids in October and January. Alright, finally, it's time to talk about her weapon. Oh boy, Kaguya's Folding Fan. This weapon, it's pretty good. Firstly, it's a dagger, so it immediately has synergy with Piercing Galewings, which provides dagger voltage. So these two weapons are a really good pair. Kaguya's Folding Fan also brings 2 completely new skills that we've never seen before. This first skill, Optimus Exalto. This is basically the same effect that you would see on your Primal Summon or your Dragon Summon. Each copy of the weapon provides 30% boost, and it stacks up to a maximum of 90%. Now this sounds insane, and don't get me wrong, it is, but it's probably not as insane as you might be imagining. Let's think about a modern Zephyrus grid. We'll pretend we're full autoing with Mana Diver. So in that case, our grid might look something like this. If you look at what's actually being boosted here, it's not that much. Compared to grids from a couple of years ago, many of our meta weapons these days have unboostable things, like Galewings here, or Clam's first weapon skill. In this particular case, even the Ewiyar beaks are being boosted by the Primal Auras. That being said, we do still get a substantial increase from the mods that can be boosted, like Opus, the Small Majesty from Clams, and the Kaguya fans themselves. Now, let's move on to a more burst-oriented grid. In this particular example, we would get much more benefit out of the weapon's first mod, as the Destiny Knuckles do provide more boostable mods. Although we do lose the extra boost from using the Primal Opus. And before you ask, yes, I did try with the Primal Opus as well, but it is less raw damage. The unique Magna attack from the Magna Opus is still a bit too much. Maybe with 3 fans it would be better, but I don't have a third one to test with, unfortunately. Alright, so the third weapon skill is also an entirely new skill. Demolishment provides a big amplifying boost to normal attack damage. This weapon skill is, in my opinion, the strongest part of the weapon. If you guys don't know, how Amplify works in the damage formula is that it's a straight percentage boost that's applied at the very end of the calculation. It's the same way Seraphic weapons work. So, let's say our normal attack would have done 10,000 damage. With 20% amplification, you would instead do 10,000 times 1.2, which would be 12,000 damage. So it increases your damage, and it also increases the damage cap. It's a very powerful mod. This weapon on its own provides 3% normal attack amplify, and it can stack up to 30% when equipping multiple copies. Here's how it breaks down with 4-star Ewiyar equipped in summons. Feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot. So at this point you might be asking, hey DY, how many copies of this weapon do I need? 3 copies might be an answer you've heard a couple times since the first skill stacks up to 90%, and also because 3 is needed to max out the normal attack amplification on single-sided setups. However, at this moment, I'm leaning towards recommending 2 copies. Do keep in mind though, I don't personally have 3 copies, and my reasoning here is constructed of information I've gathered and things I've theory crafted. I could very well just be coping since I don't have 3, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think at the moment, it's pretty hard to fit 3 copies into the grid. This grid that I showed off earlier, there's really not much room to drop anything. And no matter what is replaced here with a 3rd copy of Kaguya's fan, you would lose a pretty substantial amount of raw attack either way. There is, however, enough room in extra grids since you get 3 more slots to work around. So if that's something you'd like to plan around, maybe 3 copies might be okay. I think 2 is extremely solid and good enough for most people. With this weapon, I'm not too sure what the bar priority for Zephyrus looks like anymore, but I do think that to transition to Zeph, you now want 2 copies of Kaguya's fans, 2 Piercing Galewings, 2 Clams, and 2 Destiny Knuckles. And that's all for this banner. Phew, that was a lot. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video or found the information useful. Keep an eye on the comments down below. I'll post any new setups I see that use the new characters, and also post any corrections to things I've said in the video. This next upcoming week, we have Guild War, and I will be ranking once again. Ever since 2021, I've ranked Wind Guild War, and I will be doing the same this year. Hopefully, I'll be able to beat my personal record. All that stuff will be happening on Twitch, so come check that out if you want. I was unfortunately unable to get too much work done on the beginner's guide, but I do have some other videos planned for after Guild War, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see those. Anyways, that's all for today. Good luck if you're pulling, stay strong if you're saving, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye!